You know the dream, right? It's so seductive. The idea that you can take a small amount of cash, add a little bit of that magic called leverage, and just watch your account balloon. Financial freedom feels like it's just a couple of good trades away. But behind all those flashy charts and big promises, there's a brutal, cold reality that most traders just never see coming.
And here it is. This is that reality, boiled down to one single, stark number, 90%. That's how many retail futures traders are estimated to fail. And we're not talking about just losing a little bit, we're talking about losing everything. So the real question we have to ask is, why? Why is this number so devastatingly high?
And this quote, this really just hits the nail on the head. See, futures trading isn't just a faster, more exciting version of stock picking, it's a professional's game. It's a high-stakes arena. And walking into that arena with a retail mindset, well, that's like stepping into a championship boxing ring having only ever shadowboxed in your bedroom. It's a recipe for disaster.
Okay, so what is this retail mindset we're talking about? Let's actually break it down. Let's dissect the specific mistakes, the habits that lead to a completely blown account. This is the anatomy of failure.
It almost always starts right here. This is the #1 account killer, overleveraging. It's the tool that promises you warp speed to riches, but what it really does is put a massive magnifying glass on every single mistake you make. A tiny little price move against you, that's not a small loss anymore. With high leverage, that could be total, instant account destruction.
And this really shows you the heart of the trap. The retail trader looks at leverage and thinks, wow, I can make huge profits from tiny market wiggles. But the professional, they see the reality. You're not actually creating more opportunity, you're just shrinking the space your trade has to breathe. You end up getting stopped out, not because your core ideal is wrong, but because you gave it absolutely no room to move.
And usually, riding right alongside high leverage are these guys, the 4 horsemen of liquidation. First, you've got trading on pure hope. No exit plan, no idea where you're wrong. Then comes gambling on your position size, where you're thinking only about the profit you want, not the loss you can actually handle. Third is that emotional death spiral we call revenge trading. And finally, there's overtrading, just clicking buttons, mistaking every little blip of market noise for a real opportunity. Each one of these gallops you closer and closer to zero. Which brings us to this absolutely brutal truth. When you're in a losing trade with no plan, just hoping it'll turn around, that hope isn't free. In the futures market, hope has a very real, very final price tag attached to it, and that price is your liquidation. All right, so enough of the doom and gloom. How do you actually avoid becoming another statistic? How do you survive in this arena? Let's flip this script now and focus on the solution. Let's look at how the pros build a strategy that isn't just about winning, but about lasting. These are the rules that the 10% live by. And it starts with the obvious. Lower your leverage. Your #1 job is to survive. Next, you have to know where your idea is wrong before you ever click the buy or sell button. Then you fix your risk. A small, static percentage of your account on every single trade, no matter what. You only trade your setups, you obey your system, and maybe the hardest part? You learn to see small losses not as failures, but just as the cost of doing business, like electricity or rent. And look, the goal of all these rules, it's not to get you rich tomorrow. The goal is survival. That's it. Because surviving in the market is what buys you time. And time is the only thing that gives you the screen time, the experience you need to eventually finally build consistency. There are no shortcuts here. This is the path. And all of this, really, it all points to the final and maybe the most important piece of this entire puzzle. Success isn't about finding some secret indicator or a perfect foolproof strategy. It's about a deep, fundamental shift in how you think about trading itself. It's about putting your process over your profit. Let's just paint a picture here. A tale of 2 traders. The retail trader. He's using 25x leverage, he's trading on impulse, and he keeps moving his stop-loss down, just praying for a turnaround. A month later, he's broke, and he's yelling about how the market is manipulated. Then you have the professional. She uses controlled leverage. She waits patiently for her levels. She risks a fixed 1% per trade, and she follows her plan. She doesn't see the market as manipulated, she understands that it's structured. The difference between the winner and the loser, it was never about how much money they started with. It was never about some secret indicator they found. The only thing that ever mattered was their approach, their process, their discipline, and their fundamental respect for risk. That was it.
So I'll leave you with this one question to really think about. What is your actual goal?
Are you chasing that impossible fantasy of winning every single trade? Or is your goal to become a professional who simply focuses on executing every single trade according to their plan, flawlessly? Because your answer to that question will probably determine which side of that 90% statistic you end up on.